Hello, it is I, your average Avery, and yes, I have finally returned to YouTube after 5 months of not making any sort of videos. Also, do you guys like my new sunglasses? They have cool sparkly bits. You know what, they kind of give me like early Y2K vibes, and to be honest, I just needed a change from my old green sunglasses. Anyway, here's something that I find super annoying. Queer people who go around saying, I'm gay, but I'm not one of those gays, which they'll usually say in order to get validation points from cis-het people. So yeah, let's talk about neopronouns and xenogenders. So what exactly are neopronouns? Neopronouns are a set of third-person pronouns that are not officially recognized in the language that they're used in, and are usually made with the intent of being a gender-neutral pronoun set. Some examples of neopronouns would be sie, them, ze, per, pers, per, self. Although sometimes people will use more common words in a language as a pronoun. These sorts of pronouns are noun self pronouns, which are basically a type of neopronoun that is clearly derived from a pre-existing word or words to be used as a gender-neutral pronoun set. So stuff like cat, cats, star, star self, bat, bat self. Also, some neurodivergent people use neopronouns in order to better explain their gender identity and express who they are. Now, because neopronouns are seen as such an atypical concept, a lot of people don't like them, including a lot of queer people, for one reason or another. And, you know, I'll often see people say stuff like, well, I'll use and respect they, them pronouns, but I won't respect or use neopronouns, or they're cringe and don't make any sense, therefore I won't use them. However, think of it like a nickname. Before anyone jumps to conclusions, yes, I am fully aware that neopronouns and nicknames are not the same thing, but bear with me for a second. Some of my friends already know this, but my government name is not Avery. Now, although Avery was not the name assigned to me at birth, online I prefer to go by the name Avery. Yet before 2022, I used to go by my government name online, and that's how people would address me. But then during 2022, I decided to change my online name to Avery, and when I did that, literally no one batted an eye or made a massive deal out of it, and soon just started calling me Avery instead of my previous name. So why is it suddenly the end of the world when it comes to respecting neopronouns? Because I'm pretty sure those people that refuse to use neopronouns would probably be fine referring to me as Avery, like they would with anybody's preferred name or nickname. And like I mentioned earlier on, sure, nicknames and neopronouns are not the same thing, but when you think about it, the same kind of logic sort of applies. I'll also see those same people talk about how neopronouns are fake, unbelievable pronouns that have weird, illogical, strange spellings, which is silly, because going back to the whole think of it like a nickname thing again, it'd be like someone telling me that they don't believe in me going by the name Avery online, which just wouldn't make any fucking sense. When it comes to spelling stuff, there are multiple ways to spell my government name. However, I always used to spell my name differently to any of its official spellings, sometimes even in school. And just like with the online name thing, no one cared or made a big deal out of it. The only time people would bring up my name would be to double check how to spell it or to ask how to properly pronounce it. So like I said earlier, once again, the same sort of logic for names and nicknames kind of applies. Another thing that I see people say about neopronouns is that they're ableist and that neurodivergent people can't understand them. Yes, there are some neurodivergent people who find using neopronouns difficult, so instead use auxiliary pronouns. There are some neurodivergent people who choose neopronouns that are related to their neurodivergence and prefer the sets for personal reasons relating to that. But honestly, as a neurodivergent person myself, seriously, don't use that as a fucking gotcha moment. Neurodivergent people are a diverse group, not a monolith. Sure, we may sometimes share similar experiences to one another, but at the end of the day, we're individuals, so our experiences will also vary a lot. But you know what is ableist? Assuming that all of us inherently can't understand parts of being queer or parts of being trans. In fact, assuming that is both infantilizing and ableist. But what about people whose first language isn't English? You can't expect them to just start using neopronouns at the drop of a hat. Well, going back to the whole neopronouns are ableist argument, I mentioned auxiliary pronouns. Most people that use neopronouns have a set of auxiliary pronouns, which are basically a set of pronouns that aren't neopronouns, that essentially act as a backup set of pronouns neopronouns. So for people whose first language isn't English and people who find it difficult to use and process neopronouns, then they'll have the option of using a person's auxiliary pronouns instead if they want to. Now, let's talk about xenogenders. For those that don't know what xenogenders are, a xenogender is a non-binary gender identity that goes beyond the human understandings of gender and were made with neurodivergent people in mind. Xenogender identities can be related to a lot of different things, such as animals, nature, space. Some specific examples of these things would be cosmic gender, pup gender, firmagender, and people that identify with xenogenders don't literally have to believe that they're a puppy or a star or whatever. But think of it like this. Someone who identifies with something like cosmic gender might feel that their gender is so vast and complex that they can only process a bit of it at a time, and they may describe their gender as vast, awe-inspiring, or ethereal. A person that is pup gender might describe their gender as lively, playful, or outgoing. A person who is firmagender might describe their gender as calm, safe, or secure. And you may be thinking, well, aren't those just personality traits, not gender? Which I get, but think how we're taught about gender. Gender is a social construct made by people that is completely different from sex. Like, consider what we're taught about men and women. Men are providers and protectors. They're tough and don't cry. Women are nurturers and caretakers. They're polite and elegant. Yet these traditional gender roles that are associated with men and women don't really have anything at all to do with gender. If I showed you certain photos that don't have any humans in them, then I'm sure it wouldn't be hard for you to tell which photos are describing a man and which photos are describing a woman. And you're going to tell me that the most weird and confusing photos I showed were the ones of galaxies. People will see relatable animal memes and be like, oh my god, that's like me at 3 a.m. or whatever. But then as soon as somebody mentions gender, it's the end of the fucking world. At the end of the day, if you get it, you get it. But you know what? If you don't get it, then that's perfectly okay. But what isn't okay is going around harassing people that use neopronouns and who identify with xenogenders. You don't have to fully understand something in order to be respectful. And I see this weird mindset of, I don't get it, so therefore XYZ is wrong and unacceptable, which is just ridiculous. Just because you don't use neopronouns or xenogenders, that doesn't make you any more valid than someone who does. And I'm saying this as someone who doesn't use any neopronouns or any xenogenders. Honestly, I really don't care when I see non-LGBTQ people hate on neopronouns and xenogenders, but I do care when I see other queer people hate on them, especially when they say, I'm gay, but I'm not one of those gays. There are a lot of trans people and non-binary people that hate on people who use neopronouns and xenogenders, and they'll often say stuff like, neopronouns and xenogenders are a mockery of the trans community, or that neopronouns and xenogenders are the reason why the LGBTQ community is not accepted. People that use neopronouns and xenogenders are not the reason why we're not accepted. The reason why we're not accepted is because of homophobia and transphobia. The problem is not a few people that use neopronouns and xenogenders. The problem is transphobes and homophobes. So trying to distance yourself from people that use neopronouns and xenogenders isn't going to make homophobes and transphobes magically accept you. You're trans, you're queer. They already don't accept you. And even if they act like they accept you, it's likely just tolerance. So hating on people that are more atypical than you are isn't going to achieve anything. And let's be honest, do you really think that most homophobes and transphobes even know what xenogenders and neopronouns are? Like, they've probably never even heard of anyone using cat self-pronouns or someone identifying as cat gender. Saying that neopronouns and xenogenders are why people hate the LGBTQ community is just fucking ignorant. And before neopronouns neopronounns and xenogenders, it was, oh, trans people are the reason why the LGBTQ community isn't accepted. And then it was, oh, non-binary people are why the LGBTQ community isn't accepted. And now it seems to be people that use neopronouns and xenogenders. Say you're a trans woman in high school. You come out and you tell your classmates that you want to go by she, her pronouns from now on. But instead of using your preferred pronouns, your classmates then refuse to use she, her pronouns because they think the trans community is ridiculous because there are some people that use the pronouns cat, self. So if those classmates don't want to use she, her pronouns for you, all because some people use cat, self pronouns, the problem isn't the people that use cat pronouns. The problem is that those people don't respect your pronouns anyway. Like I said before, the issue is the transphobes and the homophobes. In conclusion, neopronouns and xenogenders are not the end of the world. I personally do not use them, but that doesn't make me any more or less valid than somebody who does use them. And having intense online discussions about star genders and cat pronouns isn't going to help prevent stuff like, oh, should trans people be removed from their parents' custody? And as Princess Bubblegum once said,
but Nettie's from the same place you're from, and he's a wet hot dog around everyone.
People get built different. We don't need to figure it out, we just need to respect it.
Anyway, I think that's enough rambling for today. Follow me on Twitter, I tweet random shit. Consider subscribing if you want to see more random videos by me. Also, now thinking of it, cosmic gender and the pronouns vamp, self sound really cool. Okay, bye.